Alright guys, welcome back. A long-awaited promised update video. This tank is, dare I say, on the far end of recycling. It's been going through some major issues. Something broke its cycle, and so it's just been chemically going up and down a lot. They got fed a big chunk of bloodworms while I was doing water change. And so a lot of the tetras are out because they were nibbling. So a couple of interesting things happened. So I lost this plant, most of it died back during the recycling, but my aquarium is blooming. You see that? It's kind of like this thick stalk-like, snake-like lily or something coming up. So I'm really excited about that. I hope it doesn't bloom while I'm out of town. I would hate to miss it. And if you see the little specks in the water, those are actually microworms. I put in microworms and the bloodworms and everything for them so everyone can eat. So other than that, the fish are doing pretty well. There's been a few losses in the cycling process. Unfortunately, there's just really nothing you can do to speed it up. You know, this tank's been running for 2.5, 3 years, and you know, I added some medication and it broke the cycle on it, even though it was totally not supposed to. So it's doing really well, and the fish are happy now because we're just at some real trace nitrites. This tank is also doing really well. We're getting a bit of an algae bloom, if you can see that on the glass, as well as a few of the plants are kind of fuzzy. So I ordered some of the Aquarium Co-op Easy Green, so I've just given this a squirt today. This tank also did a little mini recycle when I rescaped it, which isn't surprising because I added just so much new hardscape and everything in the new plants, but it went through really quick. It was done in like a week and a half, so there was no losses. Everyone's been happy. I haven't lost one of the cardinal tetras. Beta's doing good. He's happy and out and about. And overall, the tank's really, I really enjoy it every day. I didn't scrape the algae today because I just wanted to let it hopefully stabilize on its own. So just a quick walk back to the bedroom tanks. So last update, I told you I put the catappa leaves in, and you'd see that they've mostly disintegrated into the tank. There's quite a bit of mulm in there, but overall I think it hasn't affected the pH or anything. I've been monitoring that, but the Shelleys really seem to like it. They hide under them. They've moved them around, especially like back here. It made it more cave-like, which they really liked. And I've been watching some footage of Lake Tanganyika, and they actually will have layers of molmy algae kind of stuff over their shell pits a lot of times because they eat the stuff in that as well as water column, and it protects them. So it's not completely unlikely for their biotopes to have a little bit of mulm in them. So you can see the floating plants are getting nice feathery root systems, and these plants are growing really well. I'm really impressed considering this is just a really low-end marine land LED. Wasn't designed for plant growth. It wasn't designed for anything in particular. So I'm pretty, now everyone will be probably think I'm funny, but I'm actually pretty excited. There's been a nice explosion in the population of pond snails in this tank. In fact, the side glass, I don't know if this will really show. All those little specks are baby snails. And there's a few reasons I'm excited about that. So when I moved this tank over, not a lot of this, well, there were a few snails, but I tend to, I think, feed heavier in this tank now that there's so much more space, even though there's not necessarily more fish. So before, I'd feed a little pinch and everyone would eat some, and that would pretty much be it. And then every, later in this day or every other few days, I would feed some microworms. And again, just a small amount. Well, because there's so much more surface space, I have the tendency to overfeed. Put in more to make sure everyone gets some. And there's nothing really wrong with that, except it can cause much more, like, higher nitrates, and it's not as good. Also, the symbiotic relationship between the Shelleys and the snails are pretty nice, because once these guys start having some little fry again, that processed food that the snails are eating will actually create its own diet for fry. So I think it's really cool to have snails. I know some people are like, oh, they're terrible. Well, I've almost killed out my snail population in my 75 because I feed it so lightly. So if you don't like snails, just don't feed as much. That's really how you get rid of them. You can see these guys. So I've been really happy with this tank. It hasn't, not much has happened since I lost the alpha male up here in the front that lived right up here. The little guys are growing out. You see, he's gotten probably twice as big since we moved him a month ago. So that's a nice growth rate on some fry. I haven't seen any new fry, so I'm hoping that this new male, the sub dominant male, will start picking up the slack here, and we'll start to see some wee babies soon. Any. But it's a fun tank to watch, and I'm stoked that the plants are doing so well. Obviously this is not aquascaped like my other two tanks, but they interact with the plants, they swim in and out of them, and the plants help with the nitrates. So super awesome that they're letting them stay. And I don't care if most of them float. They do their job that way, and they grow well. These ones are growing really nice on the side, too. And so, last but not least is the quarantine tank. And we have not had any mysterious deaths in this tank in a while. So it's really, at this point, I'm waiting till the 75 finishes its cycle, and then solid, no nitrates to move these guys in. The roseline sharks are just super sensitive, and I don't want them to have to go through more nitrate spikes. But you can see, yesterday I posted my unboxing of these aquarium plants, and they all were thrown in here. And I think the fish like them. They're a little bummed that they lost some swimming space, but they're definitely swimming in and out of them, which is a natural behavior as well. And I see more of there's only 3 coolie loaches left at last test count. Remember, I bought 20. So I see more of the coolie loaches because they actually come out here. I mean, not that we're going to see any now. As soon as I sat down, they scurried back. They like to hang out in the Surwassertang moss that's right there. And behind the sponge filter. But I'm hoping more plants will just mean more comfortable killifish, which hopefully will mean that they'll be out more. So this tank also got 10 of the Malaysian trumpet snails. We can see a couple there. One right here and one right over here. It's not a real thick layer. There's another one there. Thick layer of sand in this tank because it's just there for mostly comfort for the coolie loaches. But this tank gets fed really heavily, and you know it's doing great. But like for instance, I feed a lot of using these O-nib things because they stick to the glass, and then you see that little bits fall off during the day. And now mostly, I mean, when I put them in, the Bala shark or the roseline sharks and the rainbows eat up a bunch, but they kind of, you know, you see them just like that. They pick at it, but it leaves a lot on the ground. And with coolie loaches, I kind of need that because they're like very timid grazers, and if I sit here with bloodworms, I can feed like a few bloodworms at a time for straight up 3 minutes, and not one will hit the ground because the rainbows and the rose sharks will eat it all. So I need something that will hit the ground so that the coolie loaches can actually also take up some food. But because in a lot of ways, I mean, sometimes I only put half a tab in. I'm feeding them kind of heavy today because I did water changes. But because that also leaves a lot of food on the floor, I wanted more snails in here to help eat that so it doesn't just go straight to nitrate. It'll go, in theory, to less nitrate because it's eaten and then pooped out. And there's a few pond snails in here too, but not very many. Most of them made the transfer, so or died out when the tank was basically inhabited. So there isn't a huge population in there, and they haven't been really reproducing. Because if I had a really good population of snails, you probably wouldn't even have this algae on the front glass. Another thing I noticed, and let me see if I can show it on this. Maybe, it may not focus on it, but on the lid itself, there's little worms. There's one right here, the little hair-like. See that little hair? It's a little wormy. So when I was feeding today, I was actually wiping it off and putting them in the tank so the fish could eat them. But, you know, that's just, you know, your good biotope. That's not a bad thing in your tank. Your fish, it's, you know, natural fish food. I just think it's funny that they're, like, mostly on the lid. And then there's, like I said, all the little snails, and it's not going to catch them, but that's okay. But you can see right here all the baby snails. So that's our update. And we'll see what I might come back from Portland with in a few days. Talk to you later. Have a great spring break.